self-care is not selfish. It's actually the biggest part of showing love that you could offer to your family, your friends, and your community.
As women, we nurture and take care of the world. And so it's just so important to make your health, your self-care numero uno. So
get around people who are going where you want to go and who are where you want to be. And that's exactly what I did. I wanted to be in real estate, so I got around people who were doing things in real estate that I wanted to do.
Oh, you might not be able to move things around or change what happened to you, but if you can change the way that you see it and how you're reacting to it, there's a way.
Just do what you have to do. There's no excuse. This morning, I knew that if I didn't get up at 4 in the morning and clear out my emails and do everything that I needed to do.
So you don't want the government to dictate or a judge to dictate how your hard-earned sacrifice and wealth gets distributed to your family and your loved ones.
Our culture is embedded in American culture. There are people who come to America and engage in American culture, which is Black culture. So Juneteenth is really about Black culture, and it's about celebrating us, celebrating the different diasporas of Black people, even the dialects.
At Amazing Media, we don't just create video content. We craft storylines, narratives, and memories that move people and grow brands. Whether you're a speaker, author, coach, or creative, we help you turn your vision into powerful, high-quality content that connects, converts, and leaves a lasting impression. From stunning video production and branding to unforgettable events and digital marketing, we combine strategy and storytelling to make your message unforgettable. When it comes to versatility and accessibility, video content is superior. Whether it's short, snappy social media clips or in-depth product demonstrations, there's a video format for every message and platform. Crafting video content tailored to specific audiences and marketing objectives can amplify its impact. This is why we believe in the power of storytelling and the impact of visually compelling content. In our mobile-first world, video shines with accessibility. Most internet traffic comes from mobile devices, thus resulting in endless opportunities for business owners to connect with their audience via many different platforms. The reasons companies invest heavily in video marketing are crystal clear. It's an attention-grabbing, engaging, and versatile tool that captivates your story, connect with your audience, and convert your leads for measurable results. As consumer demand for video continues to soar and technology makes production more accessible, the future of marketing belongs to those who harness the storytelling power of video. So, are you ready to elevate? Your story deserves to be seen, heard, and felt. Let's make it
Hello, 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 and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Athenia Rodney. I am the CEO and founder of Juneteenth NYC, and I'm super excited to have you guys here with us today. It's Thursday. It is Juneteenth Lunch and Learn, and oh my gosh, this month has been just so amazing with conversations and things that we have been learning. I was just talking to our guest for today about all of the nuances that I've learned for the month of October. And I will say this. We never stop learning. And the only way that we can continue to be real, productive citizens of this world is to keep learning. I learn something, I feel like, every day. And I think that that is what keeps my mind sharp, what keeps me going, and what keeps me really thriving and excited about the world. And I can't do that by myself. That means that I have to be in partnership with others and to learn from other people. And I am excited about today's conversation. This month of October, we've been talking about ailments and diseases, especially centered around cancers. And we are going to be talking about another ailment, not so much cancer, but something that definitely has led to cancer in some ways. But we will be talking about fibroids on today. Now, if you are a woman and you have a womb, this conversation is for you. You don't have to have fibroids right now, but especially if you're a person of color, it is something to be aware of, to be prepared for, to tap into, to kind of understand. This month we've talked about reconstructive surgery. For people with breast cancer, we had on last week a really heartfelt. I had to have my tissues here last week because we talked with 3 survivors of breast cancer and their different journeys and how they have transposed themselves to their 2.0s, as they so eloquently shared, as they've gone through this process. And so we're going to jump in. I'm going to introduce we have a doctor in the midst. I am excited to call her a friend. We have known each other now, I don't know, maybe 6 or so years. We've known each other for a little while, and she has taught me so much in our time together, and especially around eating, and has helped me to go on my own eating journey, of helping my body to understand how my body responds to food, and how sometimes that can turn into some of these ailments that we are experiencing in our life. So today we are talking about women's illness. We're talking about how to empower our Black women, how to empower women overall using holistic healing. And that's something that we heard a lot from our speakers from last week, where people are like, what are you doing? Why are you getting radiation? You need to go the holistic route. And this is just another avenue. Like, there's no make wrong in any of these spaces, but this is another space for us to be able to tap into. And I'm all about, like, why not do it all? Like, you don't know what your body is going to respond to. And try it and see what works, and then make your informed decision. So this is an important conversation. We're going to be shining a light on health issues that impact so many women, like I said, especially women of color, which is the challenge. But yet it is something that we don't really talk about. People suffer in silence, and when I say suffer, I mean suffer. Because recently I have just been experiencing some suffering that I have not experienced before. So I am ears glued to this conversation to see if something is coming up that I need to check on. Um, Today we'll learn how natural integrative practices can not only help manage fibroids, but also restore balance in our bodies. That's that imbalance that we have that causes things to happen. Also, vitality and peace to the body and mind. Guiding us through this powerful discussion is Dr. Danett C. Bean, DAOM, a doctor of acupuncture and Asian medicine. She's a best-selling author. Come on now. An acclaimed women's health specialist for more than 2 decades. That's a long time. That's about as old as I am. Yeah, I'm just joking. But a whole 2 decades. Dr. Danett has been helping women increase their lifespan and health span through the principles of Eastern medicine and compassionate, culturally rooted care. And that is so important, that culturally rooted. I would underline that, right? Because that is something that we find it hard to experience. Unfortunately, we do experience life a little differently, especially when it comes to our health. So let's welcome Dr. Danett to the stage, our author of A Taste of Our Own Medicine and the Fibroid Prevention Guide. Welcome, Dr. Danett. How are you doing?
I am so great. I'm so thankful to be here. I'm so thankful for you and for the space that you hold and all the amazing things that you do. And when you were saying how long we've known each other, the kids have gotten to us, because when you were like 6, I was like 6, 7 years. It's like that's what came to mind.
I didn't even, and it's so funny because I've definitely been, anytime someone says it, I don't catch it when I say it, but when somebody else says it, I'm always like 6, 7. So yeah, the kids are definitely gotten to.
Yeah, my son, he sets me up all the time. I'm like, he's like, how long you think it'll take me or whatever? And I say 6. He's like, so,
Oh my gosh. So we noticed you have a kid. So, welcome to the platform. Thank you so much, Dr. Danett, for thinking it not robbery to come on the space and to share your story, to share your journey with us. And to just help us to guide us through this process. Before, I know you have some slides that you want to share, but before we go into the slides, and I don't know if you're going to share about this, but can you talk to us exactly about what like Eastern medicine is for those who are not aware?
sure. So right now, where we are is in the United States, based in the United States, which is considered to be the Western, more Western part of the world, or Europe is more like Western. But when we talk about Asia, Africa, we're looking more East. And so, Eastern, I use the term Eastern medicine. Here it was originally called Oriental medicine, but as the children would say again, that's sus using that term. But back in my day, when I went, that's what the term it was. And so when we talk about Eastern medicine, we're usually referring to like traditional Chinese medicine, medicine that was originally practiced there. Also, like in the East, Japan, and I found overlap into some places, even if you will, to Africa. People hear Chinese medicine, they don't think about Africa. But my first person who I learned acupuncture from had actually studied in Africa as well. So there's a lot of overlap. But when we talk about Eastern medicine, we're specifically talking about medicine that started thousands and thousands of years ago that was really based on a system of observing nature. Um, and from observing nature and the patterns that we go through as women and that men go through using different herbs, there's actually many. If you think of Eastern medicine as a tree, then there are lots of different branches to that. So we have acupuncture, we have herbal medicine, massage. So it's a complete system, healing system that's been around for thousands of years, one of the oldest on the planet.
Wow, like I said, I learned something new. I've heard you say Eastern medicine for as long as I can remember, and I don't think I've ever really asked that question. But it definitely sat in my heart to ask it now because I'm like, if it's in my spirit, I'm sure others are also having that same question. So I am going to pass the baton over to you to share your screen, and well, we're going to share and to walk us through your presentation. Then I'll come back and ask you a couple of questions, get some questions from those in the audience, and then we'll close out.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, I'm ready to share the slides. We're going to do the slides here. Great. All right. So this is kind of like when you go to the movies, right? Viewer discretion is advised. That's only if you don't want to be healthy. But disclaimer, the information provided in this presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease and should not replace the advice of your licensed medical doctor or other qualified healthcare professional. Always consult your physician or healthcare provider before starting any new health program, supplements, or treatment approach. So welcome to Healing Fibroids Naturally, your 3-step Eastern medicine blueprint. We'll be discovering how to reduce fibroids naturally, restore balance, and prevent recurrence. So today we're going to cover understanding what fibroids are and their impact, what I call the 3-step blueprint to heal naturally. So through the years of my clinical experience, which is a little over 22 years, longer. We won't go into that right now, but for over 20 years, I discovered that healing fibroids works best with an integrative whole body approach. So one that honors both Eastern and Western medicine. And these 3 steps form the foundation of what I call a 3-step Eastern medicine blueprint. So we'll be addressing the number one cause of fibroids according to Eastern medicine, strategies towards decreasing recurrence, and next steps, as well as resources for healing. So Athenia talked about me. So if you were on, you heard those things, that I'm a doctor of acupuncture and Eastern medicine. I'm a New York State licensed acupuncturist, specialize in women's health. I've helped teenage girls with cycle issues through women with fertility issues. Postnatal health is a big love of mine. That's what I wrote my book on, A Taste of Our Own Medicine, or one of my books. And I've been honing in a lot on fibroids, perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause, because I believe these are key times to help increase our longevity, which is essential. And so my doctorate specialization's in women's health and geriatrics. So I always am looking at things through the lens of how can we live longer and also have the quality of life that we want, especially thinking about women of color and thinking about all of the different ways that racism has had an impact on health. I mean, for those who don't agree, you just look at the numbers, you just look at statistics, and it's quite impressive. And so I'm very focused on what can we do to offset the issues that can decrease our quality of life and longevity. I do speaking, and yes, supporting women to restore balance and lasting wellness. So what are fibroids? So fibroids are benign tumors of the uterus. So when we say benign, that means that it's not going to spread to other places. That means somebody who's going to mind their own business, right? As opposed to a malignancy or cancer, which I know you've been talking about this month, where cancer spread. Benign will stay within its own area, even though the tumor is when you have a mass where the cells keep dividing uncontrollably. So it can cause an issue there, but it's not going to go, let's say, to somebody else's house and bring drama. It's going to stay in one spot, right, in the uterus. From a traditional Eastern medicine standpoint, fibroids are what we call blood stasis. So that's when blood isn't moving properly, with chi deficiency. And all that means is that there's not enough energy that's present in what's called the bowel or the uterus. And there may also be some phlegm, as well as what we call chi stagnation or stuckness of energy. So this is an epidemic. Okay, 70 to 84% of women experience fibroids by age 50. I know for white women, it's estimated to be 70%, and for Black women, 84% by age 50. So if you're like, did she just say it? That's what I said. That means that only 16% of us will not experience fibroids by age 50. And we have a higher incidence. And so what this means is that we are more likely to be diagnosed earlier on, increased size of fibroids, increased growth rate, increased hospitalizations, increased signs and symptoms, right? And so there are a fair amount of us who may have fibroids and never have signs or symptoms. I'm curious for people who are, listening in to give thoughts, like, were you diagnosed with fibroids and were you like, oh my God, I had no idea because I didn't have signs and symptoms? Or were you someone who was like, I'm going to see the doctor because I'm having all this heavy bleeding and I'm pretty certain that I have fibroids or I have other pains? So it is really important to understand that something could be going on and you not know about it. I don't want to sound like Jaws, like something lurking in the water, but there are things, this could be happening. And so this is why it's really, really, really important to work preventively. It's always important, but it's extremely important when thinking about fibroids. If you are someone who has a history of fibroids in your family, then that's something to take extra note of. But I think at this point, because of um, how much of an epidemic it is, we all have to just work preventively. I think it's really, really important. And the highest number in terms of age groups is like women in their 40s. So it's like once you're in your 40s, I think it's good if you want to work preventively. I mean, even before then, so don't wait till then. But if you're a woman in your 40s, definitely take heed, because this is a decade where it can really cause havoc. And the idea isn't to scare, but to prepare. I just made that up. Y'all got some good energy. I'm feeling you. So for signs and symptoms that can accompany fibroids, some of the things that can be experienced are pelvic pressure, pain, urinary frequency, problems with bowel functioning, painful intercourse. It can affect fertility and pregnancy. There can be extreme bleeding and or anemia. And so what I'm going to talk about now in terms of the hidden impacts, this is based off of my clinical experience. You may not look this up and be like, oh, well, she said this, but I don't see that. Like when I talk about potential channel misalignment. So let me just say something. Let me go through these and then I'll go through each of them. But just be clear that what's in the rectangle is based off of my clinical experience and inferences. Okay, so pelvic pressure, pelvic pain, urinary frequency, problems with bowel functioning. If that's happening and you have fibroids, it's likely that the fibroids are either large enough to be causing this issue and or located. And so if it's large enough to be causing that issue, then I mentioned potential channel misalignment and musculoskeletal issues. What does that mean? So as a licensed acupuncturist, we believe that there are channels or pathways that run throughout the body. This is foundational practice of Eastern medicine. As I said, one of the oldest medical systems on the planet, that we have channels and highways that run through our body. And so that allow energy to be able to move through when things, it's like traffic or cars on a highway. When there's no traffic, things can move smoothly. We're feeling great. Things get stuck. We feel it, right? So if the fibroid is causing these issues, I believe that it can cause an issue with how your channel is actually able to be, the energy through your channels are able to flow, and also musculoskeletal issues. So if you have something that your body is now compensating for, it can affect your back. It can affect your knees in exchange for that extra burden that your body's dealing with. Painful intercourse, affect fertility and pregnancy. So this means the negative emotional impacts, right? And missed beneficial hormones. So intercourse is not meant to be painful. And when you are pregnant, you give birth, then you have this release of oxytocin and endorphins. And so these are things that help our emotional health, our emotional well-being. And, for those who have journeyed with dealing with fertility issues, it can have a huge, huge emotional impact. So these are some of the hidden impacts that fibroids can have. I'll also say extreme bleeding, anemia, and also an increased likelihood of decreased physical activity. And while all of these impacts are important, this is no joke, right, at all. None of it is, but this is really serious because worldwide cardiovascular events are the number one cause of mortality. And for those who have extreme bleeding, anemia, they're more likely to be physically active, because that's the last thing. When you don't have much energy, how are you going to do activity? So all of these things, I believe, can play a role towards increased risk of cardiovascular events. So really, really important. So this must and can stop. Fibroids are affecting women's quality of life, our emotional well-being, and longevity. And no woman should have to live with draining periods, fear, or exhaustion as her normal. Healing is possible, and it starts with understanding and action. So I'll talk now about the 3-step blueprint, what I call CAP, right? When you want to end something, you put a cap on it. And so that's how I see this, this method. And again, this is based off of my clinical experience. You're not going to look this up and find it. This is based off of my 20 plus years of work. So, and what I've seen to be helpful. Okay, so step 1 is to get clarity about where you are in your fibroids, wellness, and reproductive journeys. So that's the C, clarity. Next is to address the fibroid, step 2. Do what is needed to stop the fibroids from negatively impacting your health if it's negatively impacting your health. And also if you're, thinking to work preventively, but specifically it's looking to stop the fibroids from negatively impacting your health. I skipped ahead. The P for CAP, step 3, is taking action to prevent recurrence. So that's adopting lifestyles, habits that decrease fibroid growth. And it's so sad, like I've seen it over the years, women just coming in, having dealt so much with fibroids, heavy bleeding, pain, and then they get the fibroids removed and they're like, oh my God, thank God, But there are people where recurrence happens. Some of the statistics are a bit shady, but it's at least 30% fibroids can come back. So I think it's great when, women take the step if that's what they're choosing or need to do to get fibroids removed, but don't stay woke. It's not like, okay, that's over with. That's not how it works. So step 1, getting clarity, fibroids journey. So do you currently have fibroids or are you working to prevent, right? If you currently have fibroids versus working to prevent, you are still taking action, but it's a bit different, right? Because you may be, if you're dealing with signs and symptoms, sometimes if something is like on us, right, then we can remember to take the actions more than if it isn't. But if you're working to prevent them, you have to still, as I said, maintain that vigilance to work preventively. How many do you have? What are the size? Where is the fibroid or fibroids located? So just a quick aside, for Eastern medicine, and we can never make guarantees, but I'm just going classically right now, and this will tell you like how old school this is. So for size, we say that we can help when it is the size of a robin's egg, right? What? Like this tells you like this is like way back in the day, right? So a robin's egg is about 1.1 to 1.2 inches. It's not that some of what's been used couldn't be helpful for larger, but this is what has been used classically, and so that's what I have practiced and stick to. And then also in terms of types of fibroids, and this isn't something that it's a bit technical, so I'm not going to get into all of that right now, but I will say that like interstitial or intramural fibroids that are within the muscle, we say are more easily to be treated with Eastern medicine because the herbs are able to get into the fibroids. But there's never a guarantee. So when people, I think it's really important because sometimes, sometimes if people have a lot of fibroids or large fibroids, it may, each person is different, but it may not work in terms of using herbs, just, herbs to address the fibroids. To be honest, this is what an integrative approach is about. So wellness journey, are the fibroids affecting your health? If so, how? Are you, from the signs and symptoms, are you having heavy periods? Are they long? Are you experiencing pain? Are you experiencing fatigue? As I said before, I'm bigly, I'm really into longevity. And so if you're having heavy periods and long periods, that is really, really important. That's really, really important. So in traditional Eastern medicine, the more vitality we have, right, the more energy, the more longevity we can have. We say that the way that men lose their vitality, or what we call like their essence, through sperm or ejaculation, and women, we lose it through our menstrual blood. So if you're having heavy periods and or long periods, it's like leaving the faucet on for some really precious substance, as is water, except that this isn't something that, I mean, it's all having an impact, right? So it's really important for your health and well-being that if you are having heavy periods or long periods, that you make sure that you are getting the assistance that you need. And then your reproductive journey. Are you looking to conceive? And if so, is the location of the fibroid affecting that? Are you in perimenopause? Are you in menopause and still experiencing symptoms? Many times as we get closer to menopause, our estrogen, or what we think of in, it's not exactly the same, but in Eastern medicine, many of you I know have heard of the term yin and yang, and there's the circle where the white part with the black eye is on the top, and then the black part with the white eye is at the bottom. So as we are approaching menopause, our yin, or what is called in Western medicine, estrogen, decreases. And again, they're not exactly the same thing, but there is some overlap. So many times, like if a woman is close, believes she's close to menopause, meaning that she's almost at a year without having a cycle, that it may be seen that she doesn't need to worry about addressing fibroids. But it's still something to keep an eye on. It's just something that's really important to still keep an eye on. So, but where you're at in your reproductive journey has to be a part of getting the clarity. So say, for instance, for someone who's looking to conceive and they haven't, it would be really important to make sure that you're getting imaging done to see location of the fibroid and is it impacting your fertility. So step 2A, addressing the fibroids. So your well woman's care, competent, trusted, and able to communicate with. Competent, trusted, and able to communicate with. I'm going to say it one more time. Competent, trusted, and able to communicate with. This is really important. There are some amazing, phenomenal women's doctors out there, gynecologists, some amazing registered nurses who do well women's care visits that are out there. And then there are also some who, I don't know, may not have picked the work that is as suited. But the point is, and I'm not supposed to talk about anyone, so let me retract that. My point in saying this is you have to have a good communication with your team, and everybody deserves to have a really good well women's care team. But in terms of addressing the fibroids, you want to make sure that you can talk to your gynecologist, that you can talk to your well women's care practitioner. You can look at your results, have a conversation, because now you have your clarity about where you are. If you want to have children, or if you're done having children, or what's going on in terms of your wellness journey. And now you can come with that information. If you go to talk to a doctor that you don't feel comfortable with, you're going to leave things out. You may not, or you may not be heard. It just doesn't start from a good place. So it has to happen. And unfortunately, over the years, I've seen that happen with many women, and it's discouraging. And then they're trying to figure things out on their own. And if I know anything, is stick to your lane. Stick to your lane, boo. And your lane is really important, which is knowing your body in a way that no one else knows. And then you have to go and you have to meet with someone who then knows about helping with fibroids. So that's part of addressing the fibroids. Then potentially fibroid removal. Now, that may or may not be what y'all come up with, but I believe that in a collaborative plan that is minimally invasive, Unfortunately, historically, there were a lot of women, a lot of Black women who ended up with hysterectomies, didn't realize that that's what was going to happen. We tend to be operated on, more quickly in these instances. It's about time and it's about money. And so that's why it's good to have a collaborative plan and have, if you decide to have the fibroids removed, doing something that's minimally invasive based off of your own healthcare needs and your health. And then natural support, Eastern medicine, supplements, and lifestyle. But again, this really depends on, are you in a fibroid emergency or not? Back to C, you have to be crystal clear on the first step, right? Because we don't, if there's an emergency or if your body is leaking what is going to help you live longer, then it's a very different thing than we're talking about. So the blueprint is integrative, and I believe true fibroid care must be integrative. Eastern medicine and natural remedies are superb for preventive care. Western medicine excels in acute phase health concerns. Together, they are unstoppable. Apart, they often render the person seeking care a less complete plan for what is needed to truly support wellness. And we each need different things at different times, but even the healthiest person, I don't believe anybody is above getting as much information as possible. And sometimes, because of medical apartheid, because of medical racism, because of many different factors, we just feel like if we go, we're going to lose control, or we're going to get something we don't want to know about. Why would you not want to know everything that you can about the one body that you have? And you can get into different spiritual beliefs about if you'll be back or not, or whatever. We know for certain we have this life, this body. You want to know as much as you can about it, so that you can make informed decisions. And I've had people come in and like, oh, I don't do Western medicine. I'm like, well, I can't see you because we got to have all the information. And as a New York State licensed acupuncturist, we actually have to have people sign to say, what you come in to see me for, you also see a Western medical doctor for. I just think it's holistic, and I think it's good to have information. Now, if somebody's like, I want you to do this, and then you're like, I don't feel comfortable with that, that's it, because they work for you. It's not the other way around. We're not doing them a favor. They work for us, and you take up space and you have the team that you need. So step 3, the P in CAP, prevent, taking action to prevent recurrence. So we consistently address the number one cause of fibroids according to Eastern medicine, which is emotional constraint. Yeah, real talk, right? Encourage movement of qi and blood to prevent stagnation. So this means because stuck blood and energy or qi can directly create fibroids. We work to significantly reduce and keep inflammation down. And we do this consistently and significantly to keep the ecosystem of your body and womb with minimal inflammation. And then we support with healthy lifestyle and personalized wellness. So this is where the food, supplements, activities that help keep your body with energy and choices that support your individual wellness. So consistently addressing the number one cause of fibroids, emotional constraint, right? Mind, body, spirit, right? We can separate, but they all are involved with each other. And the resentments, the frustration, it doesn't just, you feel frustrated over and over and doesn't just, it disappears, right? If you haven't worked through it or aren't using or aren't doing something with it, and it internalizes and creates stagnation. So it's super important. I'm really happy now compared to like when I first started practicing, that there is so much more mental health acceptance and awareness, and that, the stigma around therapy is so much less, but it's really important. Journal, talk. I really believe in emotional release in safe and appropriate, in settings that allow for that, so that it's out. And I just want to pause and say something that I meant to say before around if a woman decides to get surgery. So when we're dealing with fibroids, right, the high percentage, this we have, I believe, the result of the strengths of our ancestors, the weaknesses, the things that they did not get to work out. And so many times I've seen women blame themselves, feel bad about it, feel bad about the potential of surgery. If somebody throws a ball to you, right, and you're holding that ball, right? Or even better yet, it's stuck to your hand. You didn't even agree to catch it, right? There's there's a lot of forgiveness that I think we have to give to ourselves as women and around fibroids. And it's not a personal failing. It is just what happened. And it's the result of many different factors that really isn't about a blame thing. It's not at all. So I just wanted to make sure I said something about that. But emotional health is really important. Encouraging movement of chi and blood to prevent stagnation. So emotional work, like we just talked about, living your best life. Right? Jill Scott said, living your life like it's golden. Living your best life. What's the song? No holding back, no letting go, no holding back. All of that, right? Like just go for it. Don't hold on to things because your body holds on to it too. And this is you know, thank God fibroids are benign, but I know this month has been about talking about cancers. And I believe that some of that not living the best life also contributes towards not just benign masses, but malignant as well. Exercise is important for moving chi and blood. I am biased to Qigong as a Eastern medicine doctor. If you don't know what Qigong is, Qi is energy, Gong is cultivation, and it means cultivation. And it's a series, there are many different styles, but basically it's movement that aligns posture, breath, and concentration. And it helps to work the same channels that we use in acupuncture or for acupressure. So it's really great. And acupuncture, there's research that shows how acupuncture can help to address fibroids. Significantly reduce and keep inflammation down. So back to releasing emotional tension is really, really important. Inflammation, it can be systemic, but it's like little fires that arise. And so we have to really work to reduce and eliminate processed foods. Instead, eat lots of greens, right? That's cooling. And it's also nourishing to blood, which is really, really important. In general, for women, it's said in the classics that as women, we have a tendency towards blood deficiency. If you're someone who's had heavy periods or anything like that, really like greens daily. And I think that, or lightly cooked greens is really great. If you're in hotter climates, you can get away with more salads, but lightly cooked greens, you have more access to the chlorophyll. Not everybody will say that, but Eastern medicine, nutrition, that's how we see it. And staying hydrated is really important. All right, this is a whole to do right here, but we're going to take our time with this one. So supporting with healthy lifestyle and personalized wellness. So you heard me say before, the number one cause of fibroids, according to Eastern medicine, emotional constraint. But we also talk about runner-ups are dietary irregularities, which is so easy when you're working and you're busy to not eat, but regular eating times is really important. And also, we talked about anti-inflammatory, but I want to jump to healthy warmth, cooked foods, right? Not eating regularly and eating lots of cold and raw foods is also a contributing factor. So that's a runner up. And then the last one, even though it's less common, is what we call EPFs, or external pathogenic factors. So I'm where it says healthy warmth, cooked foods, and protecting from EPFs. That's a whole thing, external pathogenic factors. All that means is when you go outside, what you can experience the weather, cold, damp, warm, particularly cold. So making sure that your womb is covered is really important. If you're in Tahiti on a beach or something, that's one thing. But in terms of here at this time in New York for winter time. It's starting to get cold, so no belly buttons out and lower abdomen, just making sure that your womb is warm and protected. Improving sleep quality is really, really important. Um, Poor sleep quality has been related to some markers for inflammation. Exercise, as I mentioned, mind body practices are really important. If you're into yoga, great. But there is something that happens when we're doing exercise and movement and we're aligning our breath with it. And we really put ourselves in that moment, right? It's great. I'm a big fan. I think it's great to go to the gym. I think it's great to do weightlifting. We need, those weight bearing activities, but we also need yin exercise as well. And in this current Western culture, it's very much about what are you doing? What's next? It's very active in a certain way, but we can also be active in our stillness or without lots of motion. So mind body practice is great. Supplements, vitamin D, yes. Turmeric, yes. Body work like self massage and acupuncture. There's the use of the castor oil packs, which is accessible. If you Google that. And also, I have a free guide that I'm going to share that has some information in there as well. And a good integrative medical team, right? So that you can understand what works for you. So as an Eastern medicine doctor, we're really into like the seasons, and there's different things that you do in the winter that you would do in the summer that you wouldn't do in the winter. Like for instance, staying up later, right? Because the sun is out later in the summer. Winter, sun goes down earlier. We go down earlier. There's a flow. So there's seasonal flow. But there's also your own flow, right? And there's being truthful and honest with ourselves, because sometimes we know, oh, if I have this thing, you know, that's not going to work for me, but oh, I'm just going to have some, right? So it's knowing yourself and knowing what works for you, right? I know for myself what time I need to go to bed. And sometimes things have to wait till the morning, right? But it's not that it's not challenging, but it's really important to know yourself and to use that to your advantage. So some special considerations: women who are 35 and up looking to have a baby. If you've had a history of heavy bleeding from fibroids, take extra special care in the postnatal care time. I'm someone who hadn't had a lot of bleeding from fibroids, but in my labor and delivery, and it really cost me my health with something called postnatal depletion, which I wrote my book on, A Taste of Our Own Medicine. And it's real. And so if you are going into, sometimes what I've seen is women are so into, they want the baby, and that's beautiful, but you want to be in good shape for that baby. You don't want to just have the baby and have no energy. So if you've had heavy bleeding from fibroids and you're looking to conceive, and especially you're over 35, or for any women, but especially for those over 35, really set your postnatal care time up where you're not jumping back to work and where you can really get what you need. And then if you're currently in perimenopause and experiencing heavy cycles, be mindful of your health, as fibroids from heavy bleeding could exacerbate hot flashes and other perimenopause symptoms, right? So even in perimenopause, as women are preparing to stop having cycles, that's when there's hormonal fluctuations and periods can get really heavy. So just keep an eye on it, be mindful of your health, stay hydrated, and get the assistance that you need, because it can be a rough road. So a recap of the 3-step blueprint, the CAP: clarity on your fibroid, reproductive, and wellness journey. A, addressing the fibroids. Stop the fibroids from negatively impacting your health. P, prevent recurrence through addressing emotional constraint and healthy lifestyle. So yes, if you are interested, I have a free fibroid support guide. I'm amazed that this QR code has showed up. but it's been acting a little interesting lately. So what I would suggest, because I have a free fibroid support guide, and I also have a a women's wellness clarity call, that you instead contact me through my website. There's a contact form there. You know, if the link could be put into the chat, that's a great link. But I was having a little bit of trouble, so I'm just going to put this in. If you would like to receive the guide, you can just go to this link. I don't know if you can see that or not, but so there's that. And then I also have a women's wellness clarity call, as I was mentioning, and it's 10 minutes of a private virtual one-on-one call with me to help you gain clarity and direction. It's really important to be super proactive about your health and your well-being, and Eastern medicine has phenomenal things to offer. I just ask that if you sign up to really, it's for serious women only, because I don't get to offer a lot of these calls. So please make sure if you make the appointment that you keep it, or at least reschedule it for a day in advance so someone else would be able to have access to it. And yes, I think that wraps us up. These are the ways you can contact me: my website, email address, contact form. You see it has that gold star next to it. That is my preferred method of contact. So yes, please reach out to me that way. So thankful, and I'm ready for questions. What? I'm looking at the clock. You don't even know.
You got 9 minutes and have so many questions.
That's
Oh my
what I wanted. I was like, I want 10 minutes for questions. I looked, I said 150.
God.
Booyah.
Yes.
I mean,
Okay.
450.
So I'm gonna jump right in. I know you talked about foods, and and it's funny because this journey that I'm on, I've been doing this 40-day journey, and like all of the stuff that you kind of mentioned, I'm like, oh my gosh, like he talks about we have to eat 4 meals a day every 3 hours, and to be consistent. He also talked about a rest day, like one day where we're just flooding our bodies with water. So like a water day. So like today is my water day, and I'm just doing water, no food, to kind of give our body time to rejuvenate. I did not see that mentioned, but I did see sleep, exercise, like all of the things that he pretty much talks about, and he runs his entire program on. You were like talking about here. So, can you talk about, I guess, the role of, or if you have suggested or utilized like a rest day for your body to kind of rejuvenate within the Eastern culture?
I love what you said. I love all of what you said. I do want to just say something about the hydration. I think that's key. I was mentioning that in terms of the anti inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I love what you're saying, because the regularity, right? Talking about regularity of eating, and there's a flow to things. So, in terms of rest, I think that we're living in some wild times. And I think that whatever you can do regularly is good. I think that, a Sabbath for your body is spectacular. I also am mindful that we have 6 other days out of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And what our minds understand, our bodies don't always. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get some water, and later on today, the body's like, no, actually, I need some right now. We don't mean to, but many times I know for myself, I lied to myself, saying one thing, but my body's asking for something else. So I think it's spectacular to have a day of rest. I think it's biblical, you know. And I also think that we have to be really careful how we're structuring the other 6 days, so that our bodies can, align with a good circadian rhythm, right? I really feel like when the sun goes down, it's good to just wait till the morning, start winding it down, leave the screens alone an hour, at least an hour before bed. We've got the blue light blockers and all that, which is great. But the mind, right? Because the more our minds are active, that can decrease the quality of our sleep because we think, oh, I fall asleep. But if we're going to sleep, ruminating, I believe that that's then affecting our quality of sleep.
Mhm.
And if sleep quality goes down, inflammation markers go up and increases our risk of fibroids and other issues.
Are there specific foods that you think highlight or exacerbate inflammation or like create inflammation in our bodies that you know of?
Processed foods, definitely, and in just thinking about fibroids also, when there's been a whole war on meat, which I'm going to be doing doing some writing or something on war on meat. I think that when capitalism met what humans needed, that there are things that were improvements and then there were things that totally went off. And so whenever we're having more processed foods, meats with hormones, let me say, right?
Mm,
Not everybody, I don't think meat is for everybody all the time. And I think some people do better with some meat.
mhm,
And I think that if you're having the wild organic, that stuff is expensive. You're not gonna have a, you're not gonna eat a lot. You don't need a lot. But in terms of inflammation, definitely sugar, white sugars, processed foods, flour,
mhm.
all of the things. Like it's like if you can make it quickly, you got to raise your eyebrow to it. And it's hard because we're busy. We have families. Um, but the closer we can get to picking it from the earth, um, the less inflammation it tends to cause.
Thank you. And then I'm sorry, rapid questions. I want to get some questions in there.
Yes,
You
yes,
talked about like the eating, like food, not eating, but cooking, like you said, low cooking or something like that. I didn't write down, but like where you're not cooking the greens for long periods of time. Can
right.
you talk about
Yeah.
that?
Yes. So I said that because there are some people who just think like salads are the way. Like I'm just going to salad my way, and I know growing up, it was like that was the healthy. If you're going to eat healthy, you're going to eat salad. But Eastern medicine, we talk about this really important thing called digestive fire. So it's like if you go to cook something, you turn it on the stove and you're going to get some fire. If we keep eating cold things and we talk about foods having energetic qualities, if we keep having cold things, it's like putting water on the needed fire that helps to cook down what we need so our bodies can readily absorb, right? We don't always our bodies don't always use what we eat. It uses what we can assimilate, what's broken down. So in terms of lightly cooked greens, it can help to liberate the chlorophyll in a way that sometimes just eating a bunch of salads doesn't. Plus, it adds some warmth to it because of it being cooked without cooking away all the chlorophyll. Even though, my hubby, he makes some banging greens and his family that, I call them South Kakalaka greens, and it's delicious and it stays on forever, and that's great. But I think for those of us with blood deficiency as women who have fibroids can have a tendency to, and for women, I think making sure that we are having the lightly cooked greens, some can be very helpful.
Got it. Thank you. And then along those lines, I know I've heard you mention about drinking cold water because I am heavily anemic, and that is my go-to. That's the way that I get my water intake, unfortunately, is eating ice. So can you talk a little bit about that before we go as the last question?
Sure. I mean, yeah, that is such a tricky one, especially I won't say this about for you because you're like timeless here, but for many of us who are in, perimenopause, menopause, it's like all you want is cold things. And it's hard when you have anemia that is that's a craving and that's real. I think that you just do your best. See if you can, have it cool as opposed to cold, or if it's cold, try to have that maybe once as opposed to every bottle of water. Like start with just, one that's not cold. And that's still cool, but because what happens is just like water, when we put it in the freezer, right, it becomes ice, right? Cold contracts causes more stagnation. And so that's really the beef with the cold is we want the chi and blood to be flowing, and the more cold we're having, even if it's like, oh, our body temperatures are this, you drink something cold, it's putting cold into the body. So just reduce it as you can. And maybe I'll see you and we can work out something in terms of like helping to address your blood and heat, because I have seen that decrease too. Yeah, with support.
Mm. Got it. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Danett. This was really great. Oh my gosh. I mean, there was so many. Like I said, I got a whole bunch of notes. I still have a whole bunch of questions, but I'll set up some time to meet with you individually, to go over some of my own. Because a lot of the things I was like, oh yeah, I have been going to the bathroom a lot more frequently, and I was like, maybe it's a UTI, but now, especially with heavy periods that I've been having lately, maybe it's more than that. So I go to my follow up, my annual in the next couple of weeks. So I will be investigating and definitely sharing. But this was so amazing. And I hope everyone was in this space who was here, got to learn something. So thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Danett. And we have all of her contact information in the chat. Please feel free to connect with her. She is a wealth of knowledge, as you can see. Like I said, she's been doing this for about as old as I have been born. So, 2 decades. So it is definitely a great space to be able to connect with her. And I'm going to send you to the backstage if you have any last things to say before we go.
No, I just thank you again so much for the space that you hold, for the work that you do. It's really powerful, especially right now. So I just thank you for that. My honor, my pleasure, and see you. See you soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Please stay backstage. I want to close out with you after I close out with everyone else. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying beyond the time. This was really, again, I hope you really got some good information from this session. Just thinking again out of the box, there are so many different ways, and like Dr. Danett talked about, being able to have both your Western and Eastern medicine as your holistic way to get through whatever you might be experiencing. Today we talked about fibroids. Last week we talked about cancers. These are all infiltrations to our bodies, where we are doing all of the things that Dr. Danett talked about, that our bodies are in crisis mode. They are in inflammation, right? Not getting enough sleep, not drinking enough water, not moving. Like that is the biggest part for us. We are not moving enough. Even if it's just I'm sitting down, I'm moving my arms, like get your heart rate running. I have my watch, my Fitbit, and every hour I'm sitting down, it does this little beep and it reminds me, gotta keep moving. And I'm like, okay, let me go run to the bathroom. Let me go downstairs and put something in the washing machine. Let me come upstairs so that I can get some movement in my body. So definitely having some level of exercise in your day. And then the idea of eating on a regular schedule to help our bodies become more acclimated to what we're putting into it so it can process it better. So thank you again. I really hope you all got something out of this. We've learned that fibroid healing isn't just about removing what's wrong. It's about restoring what's right, balance, harmony, and self-connection, connection to food, connection to our mental mindset, and to our environment. Through Eastern medicine, mindfulness, and intentional care, women can reclaim their health and their power. So I thank you all for coming and joining with us and empowering yourself to reclaim your health. We love you and happy Thursday. Thenia Rodney, CEO, Juneteenth NYC. Have a great one. Bye, everyone.
So with the brand new album, and I'm talking hits after
Juneteenth Festival was Culture Alive Donut today. Please like, share, and comment. Register now at juneteenth.ny.com. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and comment. Register now at juneteenth.ny.com. Thanks for watching.